Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Diane. Today I'm sharing with you my January manga haul. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. Truth is that I did not go to the store over the last couple months. So that's kind of reflected in how tall this stack is. We did keep a list of the things that we were still interested in picking up over the months that we didn't purchase anything because the manga club wasn't meeting in person. We didn't actually go to the store, so I didn't do my monthly purchase. But I did still keep track of things I was interested in, and so when we went in January, we purchased the backlog of things that we wanted to pick up and then some. So the stock is quite large, but considering it's about 3 months worth, I think this isn't too bad. So let's just get into it. We're going to start off the top here with Night of the Living Cat Volume 1. This is by Hawkman and art by Mecha Roots. Published by 7 Seas, rated teen. So this is a zombie apocalypse type story, except we're dealing with cats. And if you touch a cat or pet a cat, love a cat, cat touches you, you turn into a cat. And so it's this thing that's going on in the world. We read this volume for the Monochrome Manga Club in January. So I've already done a series first impressions on this volume. And so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on it, you can check out my series first impressions video for the Monochrome Manga Club selections in January. Okay, so we are currently doing a series read of Tokyo Revengers by Ken Wakui. This is published by 7 Seas, rated older teen. So this is a story about a guy who finds out in his adult years that his middle school girlfriend was murdered by a gang that he knew when he was younger, around the time that he was dating this girl. And he ends up being thrown back into the past and is trying now to prevent the things that occur in the future, or save his girlfriend from being killed by the gang by changing things in the past. And so we read volumes 7 and 8 in January, and then we will be reading volumes 9 and 10 in February. So I've just been collecting these as I am reading them. We probably needed to include volumes 5 and 6, but I can't even remember anymore. We just read them and didn't keep them in the stock. But anyway, we are reading Tokyo Avengers. Read 7 and 8 in January. We'll be reading 9 and 10. I'm really enjoying the series so far. I hate stories that you bounce back and forth from the present to the past. But with this series, I find that the mangaka is really making it enjoyable for me because we are more invested, I guess, in the character. I'm very invested in Takemichi and what he's doing and all of the things that he does in the past and how it affects the future. And with the way that the mangaka tells a story, I find myself just really enjoying getting to know characters. And when he introduces characters, he associates them with other people that you've been following and spending a lot of time with, and so you become invested in those characters. And it's just really an experience that I'm enjoying. And so I'm glad that my manga club members decided that this was a series that they wanted to read. And I am very much enjoying our read through of this so far. I think my daughter and I are probably the only ones in the manga club that haven't read this. And so I was kind of surprised that the manga club members chose this as a series read. But the other members are really enjoying rereading it and then discussing with my daughter and I what they're feeling at the moment. And they're being very good about not spoiling things for us too. And so it's just been a really, really good experience. I'm looking forward to reading more of this series as we get through it with the club. We have volume 2 of Black Knight Parade. This is by Hikaru Nakamura, published by 7 Seas, rated teen. So we read volume 1 for the Monochrome Manga Club, and I need more like convincing. So I picked up volume 2. This is a story about a guy who ends up being kidnapped by a Santa dressed in black. And so the story kind of goes that there are two Santas. There's the Santa that's dressed in red that caters to all the good boys and girls. And then there's a Santa that's dressed in black that caters to all the bad boys and girls. And this guy ends up being on the naughty list and ends up getting kidnapped to the North Pole to basically do grunt work. And so we're kind of following him as he gets acclimated to being in the North Pole and meeting other people and finding out why they're there. It was an okay first volume for me, but like I said, I need more convincing, so I picked up volume 2. Looking forward to seeing what I think after this one. This is definitely one of those series where I'm going to be re-evaluating whether or not I'm going to be collecting it for my shelves volume by volume. And so, yeah, picked up volume 2. I have volume 1 of Firefly Wedding. This is by Oreko Tachibana, published by Viz, rated older teen. This one's about a noblewoman that's afflicted with a heart condition, but she wants to secure a marriage that will benefit her family before she dies. She gets targeted by a mysterious assassin, and in a last-ditch effort to save her life, she asks her would-be murderer to marry her. It sounds interesting, and so I definitely wanted to check that one out. Got volume 1 of 100 Ghost Stories That Will Lead to My Own Death by Anji Matono. This one's published by 7 Seas, rated older teen. I will say that the depictions are quite scary. This says, forever haunted, a boy sits in a room alone, telling tales of horror, one by one, night by night. The shadows breed terror. Shall we begin? Sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what I think on that, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to read that one when I normally read stuff, because I normally read stuff right before bed. And these illustrations kind of creep me out a little bit. So we'll have to see. I normally don't get affected by like reading super scary stories, but when there's like illustration, that affects me a little bit more. And so looking forward to seeing what I think about that one. Got episode volume 14 of Mission Yozakura Family by Hitsuji Gondaira. This one's published by Viz, rated teen. So this one is a story about a guy who ends up losing his parents, becoming orphaned. He ends up joining his best friend's family only to find out that they're a family of spies. And so he ends up needing to learn how to be a spy, not only to save himself, but to save his best friend and her family. And it's a really interesting story. They go on lots of missions. And I just find a lot of interest with this one. There is an anime out right now. We have been watching several episodes. This series does have a lot of hijinks and hilarity in it, but there's also a lot of heart. And so I'm really looking forward to reading more of the series. And so, yeah, I'm continuing to collect that one. I started reading it on the Shonen Jump app, and I'm collecting it physically now. Have volume 4 of Demon Slayer Kimetsu Academy. This one is story and art by Natsuki Hokami, based on Koyoharu Gotoge's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Published by Viz, rated teen, so this is a chibified version of our characters from the Demon Slayer series, and I believe this is full of hijinks and hilarity as well. Looking forward to reading more of that. I have volumes 3 and 4 of My Love Story with Yamada-kun, level 999, or at level 999. By Mashiro. This one is published by Inklore Books, rated 14 plus or teen. So this is a romance story about a university aged girl who is playing this MMORPG called Forest of Savior. She got into it because of her boyfriend at the time, and then her boyfriend dumps her for another player of the game, and as she's like trying to get over it, she ends up going to a IRL kind of like convention for the game, and meets one of the more famous players who ends up being somebody who's in her guild. And so they start getting to know each other, and eventually a romance blossoms between them. I really enjoyed the anime of this, and so I started reading the manga. I think I read the first volume for my manga advent calendar project in 2024. Daughter had picked that one out for me as one of my selections. I really, really enjoyed it, and I do feel like the anime stuck closely to the manga, and I'm looking forward to continuing with the manga. Volume 10 of Sasaki and Miyano, published by Yen Press, rated teen. This one's by Shoharu Sono. So this is a BL romance that follows these two high school boys. At this point of the story, though, I think one of them is probably not in high school anymore. But I read volumes 5 and 6, I think, for my manga advent calendar project at the end of 2024 and enjoyed it. The more I read of this series, the more I enjoy it. My daughter really enjoys this series, and so that's kind of why she picked those volumes for me to read for my manga advent calendar project. And yeah, the more I read of it, the more I enjoy it. I will say, when I first started reading this series, I didn't like it so much. The way that it was laid out, some of the things just didn't flow very well for me, but now I feel like the story is definitely much more cohesive, I guess. And I don't know if that has to do with the fact that we started watching the anime, and that might be helping my experience. But I am really enjoying the story now, and I'm looking forward to continuing with this one. I have volume 4 of The Uncanny Counter by Zhang Yi, published by Issei Press, rated older teen. So this is about a guy who loses his parents. He's living with his grandparents, and he was actually injured in the accident that took his parents. And so he's disabled, and he gets bullied at school, and something ends up happening where in his town there are people called counters, and they are people who are able to sense bad spirits, and these bad spirits break through the planes and possess people. So the counters end up going after the bad spirits and exorcising them and taking them back to the other plane. And something happens where our character ends up joining the team of counters that's in his area and doing the work. It's a really interesting story. There's lots of mystery to it, because as they're trying to find these bad spirits and take them back, there's a mystery as to who exactly they're inhabiting and trying to find them and things like that. It's really, really enjoyable. Lots of action. And we did start watching the live action drama adaptation on Netflix, and I'm enjoying that a lot. And so, yeah, really, really looking forward to reading more from that series. I have volume 5 of My Androgynous Boyfriend. I believe this is the last volume. This is story and art by Tomiko, published by 7 Seas, rated teen. This is about our relationship of these two characters here, and her boyfriend is very beautiful. And so I think that's pretty much all there is to it. I think it's just a contemporary romance story. I've been holding off on reading this because the publications have been coming out so slowly, but I do believe this is the last volume, and so I'm really looking forward to diving into this one. I've got volume 2 of Twisted Wonderland, the manga, the anthology. This is published by Viz, rated teen. So this is short story set in the world of Twisted Wonderland based on the hit mobile game from Disney. So I just finished reading the House of Hearts Labule or something like that arc of this series. And I read it for my manga advent calendar project. Really, really enjoyed it. Those 4 volumes follow the House of Hearts Labule, which is the Queen of Hearts house. Really, really enjoyed it. and I'm looking forward to reading more. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of these short stories as well from different creators and things. Really, really enjoyable series, and looking forward to reading more of that. I have volumes 2, 3, and 4 of In the Clear Moonlit Dusk by Mika Yamamori. This one is published by Kodansha, rated teen. So this is a romance story that follows our two characters here on the cover, and they're both considered princes at their school. She has never really been somebody who's been given like romantic attention, and this guy starts taking an interest in her and starts to get to know her and giving her that type of attention. And so it's about her kind of discovering like how she feels about that, discovering romantic feelings for the first time, and lots of first experiences and things. I enjoyed volume 1. I read it for my manga advent calendar project in December. And I'm looking forward to reading more of it. And so, yes, had to pick up more of that. For whatever reason, I had only had the first volume. And so, yeah, really, really enjoyed that. Looking forward to seeing where that story goes. I have volume 1 of Yonoi Tsukihiko's Happy Hell. This is a story and art by Hina Sakurada, published by 7 Seas, rated older teen. So the back of this says, what's love got to do with it? For the sake of her family's farm, she's been arranged to marry the heir of a food and holdings company. She refuses this arrangement, saying she already has a man she loves, only for the guy to laugh in her face. He finds romance and love unnecessary and has no intentions of changing his views. But she can't get married to a man who doesn't believe in love, right? Is the pair doomed to rot, or can a love ripen between two total opposites? So when I first heard about this, I kind of thought it sounded a bit like Everybody's Getting Married. I haven't yet read that one, but the themes kind of sound the same. Doesn't believe in marriage and stuff like that. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what this one's about. I have volume 2 of I'm the Grim Reaper by Graveweaver. This one is published by Viz, rated older teen. So we read volume 1 for the Monochrome Manga Club. This is about a woman who ends up doing work for the devil in exchange for the opportunity to try to figure out what happened to her. And as she's doing that, she ends up crossing paths with a detective who is working a case that might lead her to the answers she's looking for. Really interesting story. I was very intrigued about what was going on. I was a little bit afraid that the story was going to get a little bit too religious for me, but it's not really religious at all. I mean, there is mention of afterlife, what happens when you die, and the devil and things like that, but there's not a real religious overtone to this story as far as I had experienced, at least in volume 1. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes in volume 2. And I did really enjoy it, and the art style is very different from what I'm used to, but it's full color and really, really interesting. So I'm looking forward to continuing with that one. I've got Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Volume 5, art by Sleepy Sea, adapted by Umi from Reed-Eye Studios, an original story by Sing and Song. So this is the story about a guy who is the only reader of a web novel, and when he finishes that novel, things start to happen in the real world, and he notices that it's kind of following the novel that he had just finished reading, and so now he is the only person that knows how everything's going to play out. It's a really, really interesting story. My daughter is very invested in this one, and I think I just saw that the light novel version of this is coming out in June or July. Really, really interesting. My daughter has read quite a bit from this series. I have not read past the first volume, which we read with the Monochrome Manga Club, but I'm looking forward to continuing because she is really, really enjoying this one. And so, yeah, definitely looking forward to reading more of that. Volume 1 of Home Office Romance. Or is this volume 1? This might be a standalone. There's no actual volume 1 on here. This says it's from the creator of Sweat and Soap, so it's Kintetsu Yamada, published by Kodansha, rated older teen. So this says unexpected love during a lockdown. So this guy's been working an overtime and demanding job. When the pandemic lockdown finally gives him the chance to telework from home. The time he saves on his commute lets him discover old passions and explore new hobbies. The lush garden he creates on his apartment balcony provides a chance to get to know his cute neighbor, a graduate student in archaeology. But how do two adults build a relationship amid social distancing when face-to-face interaction is frowned upon and even dangerous? So I haven't read a lot of like stories that are set during the pandemic, but this sounded cute, and I thought it would be a nice way to experience something like that. I know there have been lots of like novels and things that are set during the pandemic, and you know, things like that, and so I thought this might be a nice one to try out, and so I picked that one up. Picked up volume 2 of The Strange House, story by Uketsu and art by Kyo Ayano. This one is published by 7 Seas, rated older teen. So we read volume 1 for the Monochrome Manga Club, and I really enjoyed it. This is about a woman who works for like a publication, and she kind of specializes in weird things, and her co-worker and his wife are looking to purchase a home, and he goes to like an open house and brings her the blueprints of this house that they were looking at, and he's like, take a look at this. And on the blueprints there's a room that is kind of set up in a weird way. He goes, I think this is right down your alley. And so she starts investigating like this house and the previous owners and starts to uncover some mysteries. It was a really interesting first volume, and my entire manga club was talking about this quite a bit. Very interested to see what's going to happen, and so I definitely had to pick up volume 2. Got volume 27 of Noragami by Adachi Toka. This is the final volume. It is very thick. This one's published by Kodansha, rated older teen. So this story in the beginning follows our character here on the cover, who is Yato. And he is a very minor god, and he's just doing little jobs for people so that people remember him, because if gods fail to be remembered, they just disappear, and he doesn't want that. And eventually he'd like to have his own like shrine where people can come and pay homage and things, but for right now that's what he's doing. He's doing very small jobs like finding my dog, or my cat is stuck in the tree, or just little things like that, when he crosses paths with a girl, and this girl ends up being somebody who is able to separate her spirit from her body. And so this happens like after an accident, and she ends up learning more about Yato and the spirit world and the gods and things like that, and she kind of gets kind of wrapped up in everything that goes on between the gods, and there's this kind of mystery brewing about in things that are going on in that plane. And so yeah, it kind of starts off really fun and lighthearted, and it gets more serious and more serious the further we get into this series. I really enjoyed what I've read of this series so far, but the mangakas had a bit of an illness, and so they took a break. I think it was an illness anyway. They took quite a long break, and so I had pretty much been reading like back-to-back volumes borrowed from my library for a while with my daughter, and then when the break happened, it kind of like made me have to feel the need to reread. And at this point now, I think I need to start over from the beginning and read right through, because it's just been that long and the publications have been so like lengthy in like between volumes that I feel like I don't have as good a grasp of the story to be able to finish this series with the same amount of enjoyment, you know? So I'm going to have to restart from the beginning, and I'm definitely going to do that. I do feel like this series deserves that amount of time and effort from me because I really, really did enjoy this series up until the point where the break happened. And I'm looking forward to doing that and seeing how this all ends up. We've got volume 31 of Set Off of the End Vampire Reign, story and art by Takaya Kagami, and art by Yamato Yamamoto, storyboards by Daisuke Furuya. Published by Viz, rated older teens. So this starts off as a story where vampires reign supreme, and we've got these kids who are just trying to get by, and they eventually decide that they want to try to escape this world because there is a place in the world where vampires do not rule. And so in trying to escape, only one of them is able to do that, and the other one is left in the vampire realm. And so we kind of follow these two. I've only read the first volume. My daughter's read more, though. I believe she's up to date. And I really, really do need to like put some effort into the series because she really enjoys it. And I, after reading the first volume, was definitely more interested than when I had watched the anime adaptation. And so, or at least the first like couple episodes, I think I watched like 4. But yeah, daughter really enjoys this, and I would really love to read more of this so that I'll be able to talk to her about it. And so yeah, this is pretty much a daughter pickup, but she really enjoys it, and so needed to get that one for her. Collecting Red River. This is the second bind up, which is volumes 4, 5, and 6 by Chieshi and Ohara. This one's published by Viz, rated older teen. So this follows our main character who ends up being pulled back into time into ancient Anatolia, and we follow her adventures in the past. I read several volumes of this a very, very long time ago. I was borrowing it from the library, and then it had to stop because the library lost their copy of the next volume, and at that point it was out of print, and I couldn't like continue. And so I'm really, really glad that it is being reprinted, and I'll need to again restart this series because it's been so many years that I do remember things, but I don't remember a lot. And so I'm really, really glad these are available now for me to collect and be able to read through. I'm probably not going to start this read through though until more volumes are out, or at least up until the point where I had to stop. And so yeah, looking forward to collecting more of that one. And that's all of the manga. I've got 2 light novels here also. I've got volume 8 of My Happy Marriage by Akumi Agitogi. This one's published by Yen On, rated 13 and upper teen. So this story starts off as a Cinderella retelling with a supernatural twist. And then as we get past that first volume, things change. But it still keeps its like mysterious elements about it. I really, really enjoy this series. I usually am up to date as soon as the next installment comes out, but I have been behind a little bit. I just read the 7th installment a couple weeks ago. Really, really enjoyable. We finally got to a like pinnacle point of this series, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how this story continues. Really enjoying this story as well. And just such an enjoyable read. And then I picked up Festival of Heresies by Roka Cohen. This is, I think it's a standalone. It says there's a reason Emi Shimamoto can't find a job. For as long as she can remember, she's been unable to tell the living from the dead, and spirits have tormented her wherever she goes. So it kind of sounds a little bit like Mieruko-chan. Anyway, resigned to yet another failure, Emmy attends an interview with Moria Foods, only to find herself strangely attracted to its young president, John. Though it doesn't take Emmy long to realize that something is off with both John and Moria, she's far too smitten to care. Meanwhile, Emmy's brother grows worried over his sister's change in behavior and pays a visit to an investigation agency that specializes in supernatural phenomenon. What follows is a journey into the dark depths of cults, family, and the paranormal. So I thought that sounded very interesting, and so I had to pick that one up. And so that's everything that I picked up in January. I know it was a lot, but like I said, it's about 3 months worth of purchases that I just purchased all at one time. Very, very excited to get through a lot of these volumes, and yeah, I'm very happy with my purchases. So let me know down in the comments below, have you read any of these? Have you picked any of these up? And are you enjoying them? But please no spoilers. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of moon or celestial emoji for in the clear moonlit dusk, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.